10 Things They've Taught Me, a video series where I take podcasters, YouTubers, authors who've influenced me greatly, and I find 10 things they've taught me, starting this week with Rich Roll. Hi, I'm Hayley, Chief Doodler at Thoughts Drawn Out. I'm all about getting creativity working, so I can help you to make your mark. So, 10 things they've taught me for this week, starting with Rich Roll. Now, I learnt who Rich Roll was when Tim Ferriss had him on his podcast to interview him. I was just super impressed. I went and found his own podcast and his book, and I read it, and I've been a massive fan ever since. If you haven't read his book, Finding Ultra, then you should go out and do that now. If you haven't listened to his podcast, you should add it to your list. So 10 things I've learned from Rich Roll. First one, definitely, it's never too late. He will, if you read his book, you listen to his podcast, he will talk about how he was an alcoholic in his younger life, and he really only found sobriety, and he found a love for ultra running and like Ironman events in his 40s. He reached his kind of peak fitness and has had this amazing career that's grown ever since. But he will always say it's never too late to start. If you've got a goal, if you've got a dream, go after it. Age is just a number. The second thing is that success is seen in the rearview mirror, not necessarily right from where you're standing. So you have to stick the course. You have to keep persevering. You have to keep going. And then eventually you come so far that you look back and you see just how far you've come. Thirdly, you must look after all of yourself, especially your mind. Health is holistic. And it's all connected. Fourthly, the importance of sleep. Now, Rich Roll himself takes this so seriously. He sleeps in a tent in his backyard because that is where the climate suits him best, because he realizes that he needs both good quality and quantity of sleep, and that's what works for him. He prioritizes it and he makes it part of his life. Now, from the athletic standpoint, I've learned a lot from Rich Roll around Zone 2 training. The fact that you do not have to be at max all the time. And in fact, if you want to see incremental improvement, especially in endurance sports, that's not where you should be spending most of your time. Most of it should be right down low in Zone 2, in a Zone 2 heart rate where you can be holding a conversation while you are running or biking or whatever it might be. Totally changed my approach to my own running, and I will forever be grateful to Rich Roll for that. Next up is surround yourself with people who make you a better version of yourself. Rich Roll is constantly seeking out the counsel of people who he knows do things well, do things better than him, will lift him up, will inspire him, will challenge him. And you see that in the absolutely beautiful episodes he does with his wife Julie. They are my absolute favorites. Next, it's a short one. Just do the work, man. No shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. Just do the work. Kind of speaks for itself. Now this is something Rich Roll excels at. Truly, deeply listening. He is my favorite podcaster for a reason, because he does the research. He really gets to know his guests. He listens really well. And you can tell he's not just waiting for the next turn of his to talk, and he's not just waiting to get the next question on his list ticked off. He is engaged deeply in the conversation. He is listening to their answers and he is responding to them, and it makes for such great interviews. Another thing I really admire about Rich Roll is his willingness to learn out loud for all to see. He's not afraid to admit to the things that he doesn't know how to do well, He's constantly sharing what is he working on, what is he trying to improve in his own life. And I think that comes through in his podcast as well, just his own curiosity in terms of how he will really honestly ask questions of his guests, because he wants to learn, he wants to be a better version of himself, and his willingness to do that in a really open way, I find really inspiring. And then lastly, I mean, I could go on and on with Rich Roll, but I'm going to limit myself to 10. Consistency, consistency, consistency. This is a man who is not afraid to roll up his sleeves and do the hard work, and knows that if he just keeps showing up, just keeps chipping away, over time, he will get better and better and better. But it's the showing up over and over again is what gets you there. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Now, as I said before, I could probably go on and on about all of the things I have learned from Rich Roll. I find him to be a really inspiring person. Do seek out his book and his podcast so that you can learn more about him for yourself. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I have a whole list of these that I would like to work through. I've kicked off with Rich Roll, but there are a bunch of other authors, YouTubers, and podcasters that I would like to take you through. So please stay tuned for those future videos. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you give it a like, and if you're not already subscribed, you should do that now. Now we've made it to the end, my friends, so you know what that means. It's time for you to go out there and make your mark.